Sipping and roasting, yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all. Well. That's the sound of a party about to start, and that is music to my ears.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally
Hi, Mom.
as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. You have made it with us to show number 363. Ian,
Now,
you've done the math?
If you sit down and do the math,
Yeah.
and you calculate it out just right, and I went to school in Liberty, Texas, that is exactly halfway to 400.
Okay, that's what we were hoping for. So show number 363, our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we're doing one of our favorite kinds of shows today. It's an on-location show. And the reason we love doing on-location shows is to some degree because we meet such new and wildly interesting people. To some degree, it's because we love to get out and explore the world around us and see what sort of sights and sounds it has to offer for our senses. And the third and most prominent reason is because we can
Samples.
smoke. Yeah, exactly. Because we can smoke on location. We can't smoke in the studio, so we can enjoy a fine cigar. And we'll get to what we've chosen from the humidor here at El Cuerpo Roto. We are in Old Town Spring. Now, Spring is a suburb just a little north of Houston, Texas. Ian, explain what Old Town Spring is, though, versus just the city of
Actually,
Spring.
so our guest can probably explain that a little better, but Old Town Spring, like everyone, if you're in the Houston area, you know about Old Town Spring. It's this great collection of shops and kind of a throwback when you'd have like
it has a kind of like a
downtown
Marfa
area.
sort of a vibe to
Right,
it.
and I've
doesn't
been,
it?
I've been. There's a brewery right around the corner here that's got excellent beers as well. Excalibur Brewery.
Yep.
Nice.
I've been there a number of times, and you can walk around. There's all kinds of shops. There's live music happening on the weekends at lots of places here. It's not just one. Like you walk around the corner, you're gonna see another band, another group doing something. There's wineries. There's all these great mom and pop shops. All up and down this strip here, and it's easy to walk around. They actually have pretty good parking overall,
Yeah.
too. There's
Yeah.
some street parking.
Correct.
But Old Town Spring itself has some parking lots
Nice.
that are strategically located and not like
So
way
it's a
off.
good place to come, park in one of the parking lots, then spend the rest of the day on foot visiting you know,
Yeah.
places that are, good to eat, good to get something to
There's
drink.
great food.
Or
There's,
like the place we're in now, El Cuerpo Roto,
Mm-hmm.
this is a spot where you can come and not only view and potentially purchase some amazing artwork, but the upstairs is, in fact, a cigar lounge. And our guest today is Lizzie May. She is the owner and proprietor of El Cuerpo Roto and an artist yourself. In fact, these images that are directly behind us, these are ones you painted yourself, correct?
Yes, I did. Yes.
So that is, first of all, it makes for an incredible place. Like, usually when you go to a smoking lounge, and I enjoy pretty much any smoking lounge, but it's lots of leather chairs and a big TV with some football game on it with two teams you've never heard of.
Right.
Right? That's usually what you get at the smoking lounge. But here we're surrounded by incredible artwork. There's cigar boxes on the wall. It just has this whole, I'm feeling very cultured
Well,
just sitting here.
how old is this building, first off?
So the building, from what I understand, there's two portions to the building. It was one big house, and I believe the original house was built somewhere in 1908, and this was added on in the 1920s. So you're sitting in a two-story
Amazing.
building that was once somebody's home. So we're in technically the upstairs part of the home.
And this, you've not only obviously decked it up beautifully with such amazing artwork, some of which is yours and some of which is other artists, correct?
Correct, yes.
But you've also got a nice humidor downstairs where people can select a cigar if they want to come up here. And this is a place. It's not necessarily just a place to come sit and stare at the television. This while you smoke. This is a place to come and feel I don't know, something deeper, I guess, is the best way I could
It's got a
describe
vibe
it.
to it.
Yeah,
It's
it has a
very nice.
total vibe to it. And we love what you've done with the place, and we'll get into it a little more. In fact, I'm sure we had Terry shoot some B-roll that maybe Adam will put up if you're watching any of this on the YouTube feed or one of the video feeds.
In less inclement weather, there's a nice little patio out there, too. And Old Town Springs always got people, there's foot traffic all day long.
Absolutely.
Especially on the weekends. So, like, if you're a people watcher, that's a great place to sit out on a patio and just chill.
And I don't know about you, but if I'm out with my wife and we've been spending the day at one of these kind of locations, I'm either looking for a brewery or a distillery or a place like this where I can go, okay, let's take a break, let's have a cigar, let's enjoy some time off our feet here, and then we'll go back out and hit it again. You know?
Right, and then on top of that, like, because it's so busy on the weekends and there's always bands and stuff like that, I'm sure that you can hear it when you're sitting out here. You're going to hear the bands, you're going to hear all this stuff. It's really fun. And I noticed there seems to be kind of a camaraderie with all the places out here. Everyone likes the place next door, it seems. You know, it's really cool.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So if you are in Houston, which, I know we have listeners obviously all over the country, in fact, all over the world. But if you're in Houston, Texas, you would go north on I-45 and take the exits for Old Town Spring. It's about a 25-minute drive out from downtown Houston.
Well, listen, if you're in Houston, if you fly into Houston regularly and you're at Intercontinental Airport, you're closer to here than you are to Houston.
It's a 12-minute drive.
Yeah, instead of heading south towards
You
downtown,
could head a little bit north and
head
end
north
up here
and end up
hang
here and
out
be
and chill.
smoking in minutes.
Right.
It could be a wonderful day. So, well, on our program today, we're not only going to talk to Lizzie May about her artwork, about this place, about cigars and smoking cigars, and why that is so important as a part of the fabric of El Cuerpo Roto. We'll even ask her why it's named El Cuerpo Roto. But we will also be doing some tastings. And in fact, we're going to get started with the mystery beverage. But just before we do that, Ian, tell you about some of the things that are going to be coming at you in this show. From Portland, Oregon, and Stormbreaker Brewing. Are you familiar with, or have you at least heard of, the series on Netflix called What We Do in the Shadows?
Yeah,
it's like a vampire.
Dude, so first off, that movie's hilarious.
Yeah,
If you haven't seen the movie, it was a movie before it was the
Netflix series.
And it's hilarious. And the series is pretty funny, too.
Well, Stormbreaker Brewing in Portland, Oregon, has released a New Zealand-style Pilsner called What We Brew in the Shadows. And
That's brilliant.
And you'll see the artwork on the can. It's very What We Do in the Shadows-ish. So we'll get to that on the program a little bit later today. From Santa Cruz, California, and the Humble Sea Brewing Company will be trying their Electric Coral. It is what they call a foggy triple IPA. Not a hazy or a juicy, but a foggy triple IPA. And then finally from Wilson, North Carolina, Ian, I apologize in advance because I have a feeling you will just absolutely hate this, but from Casita Brewing Company, we'll do Once More with Feeling. It's their double barrel-aged barley wine.
Oh,
Yeah, so
the worst.
I'm sure you're not going to have...
I love barley wine so
Yeah.
much. I love barley wine.
So
So super painful.
plus, there's some very interesting whiskey on the bar up here. And
I saw that. There's one that I've never tried.
Yeah, Lizzie May is going to allow us to sample some of that today. And what is the one that we were going to try?
Spey
River.
Spey River, yeah.
Yes.
Spey River. So we're excited about that. This is a single malt Scotch, correct?
I believe it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we'll get to that, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But first, as we like to do here on the program from time to time, we have a mystery beverage. I brought this one in. As you can see, it is clear. Does not appear to be too
I need to
carbonated.
talk to somebody about doing a mystery beverage song.
Yeah, if only I had someone on the show
Has a
that I
sweet
could
smell.
bug for like 6 months, and then they would finally come up with a song.
Sweet with
Yeah.
a little citrus and a little vodka.
Yeah.
Smells
You can
sweet.
you can smell the vodka.
It's a sweet
It does have a
smell.
little. It does have a little citrus, and there is some sweetness on the nose. You're 100% right about that.
Citrus vodka.
Yeah. All right. So.
All right. I don't know what it is, but I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I like
Taste
that.
the vodka.
A lot of the mystery beverages that we try, we've tried, hard seltzers and different canned cocktails, and we almost always wind up, there's something about them that isn't quite right.
There's no
It's-
fake taste to this.
Right. This doesn't have the artificial taste. I will tell you this much as a clue. This is a canned cocktail.
It's
Interesting.
a little
Probably
bit like
figured out.
melon, like a melon taste, or
It's like a gin thing.
It has a little bit of a gin vibe to
It's
it.
got a little bit of a
Yeah.
little floral kind of thing going on once I taste it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
floral.
that is maybe gin instead of vodka.
Well, my friends, you're enjoying The Club,
Huh.
a gin martini in a can.
Okay.
Pass that over
Martini,
so you can
okay.
see that.
That explains the gin
That is.
and the
Yes.
citrus.
Mhm.
This is drinkable.
Yeah.
It's at 21%, so it's
This
pretty
may
strong.
be
That
thi-
is, yeah.
right. This may be one of the best canned cocktails we've tried.
Yeah,
actually.
this is drinkable.
And it comes in a fairly small can, which can be good because it's
So 21%.
21%.
Was that is
So
that an
basically, if you-
8-ounce can or something?
Yeah, so I'm thinking if you poured this into a martini glass, it
Yeah.
would basically fill the martini glass.
Yeah.
And you could. Yeah. Now,
Also, because this can is tiny, it makes my hand look huge. I mean, that's the coolest thing about this drink.
it's not that that's a small can; it's that you are the incredible colossal man. Stole
Don't
that
feel
from
bad drinking it, right?
They do warn you. It says
comedian from
it says double shot strong. So,
Double Shot Strong. Oh, that
Yeah,
means
well,
my-
I mean, it's big. You
that
can
means
put
my
out a
wife might
canned
like
drink
this.
at 21%. That's pretty big.
yeah.
That's if you're not knowing going into that. Of course, it does taste boozy too, so it's not hard
Yeah,
to
you
tell.
can tell
Yeah.
from the first sip that it's a higher, a little higher on the alcohol scale. Well, I think that's kind of. I think that's kind
Do
of.
you ever drink canned cocktails?
I do not.
We try them once in a while. Every once in a while, we find one we're like, hey, that's not so bad.
Right, and this is one of those.
Yeah, I would say
So,
I would agree. Yeah.
Congratulations, you were on a good show because some of them have been just awful.
Some of them have been terrible.
So, all right, well, there you have it. That's one you can look for, guys. It's not a not a bad idea. Now, Ian and I both visited the humidor here at El Cuerpo Roto and chose a cigar to smoke here on the show. What'd you pick, Ian?
Man, I couldn't stop myself. One of the cigars you had in there was the Aladino Corojo Reserva. If I'm not mistaken, they had just released this when we went down to
You are correct.
Honduras.
It
They
had
just
I don't
released
think it
this.
had
This is-
shipped to stores yet.
right. So
but
we
was
got
about
to smoke
Yeah.
these first, kind of,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And absolutely enjoyed them. And then me and Lizzie were talking about it earlier, and she loves that Lancero, and that was the other one that I kept going to like over and over was that Lancero Maduro that they had when we were there. But this Corojo Reserva, this is a little nostalgic now because looking back a few years ago when we got to
Honduras,
to go around Honduras on the ranch there.
Love it.
What do you smoke?
Now, yeah, well, I am smoking something that, let me just say it this way. I have a love-hate relationship with Yellow Rose. This
Yellow Rose.
cigar is the Yellow Rose from Crowned Heads. And I can tell you at a maybe, quarter to half an inch in, it's just
It was
absolutely
fantastic.
wonderful. It's so complex already. It started out with a little kind of a miniature Nicaraguan pepper blast and then settled right into just this complex layer of flavors of earth and pepper and leather, and it's just absolutely wonderful. So that I love. There's a brewery not too
Distillery.
terribly far from us. Oh, no, the brewery.
Oh, the brewery.
Not too far
Gotcha,
from
sorry.
us, called Lone Pint. They make an IPA called Yellow Rose
Oh, that's
that I think is one
brilliant.
of the greatest beers ever brewed. It's just absolutely fantastic. It's been out for a while. I loved it for a while.
It's amazing.
I still buy it.
Yes, it's amazing.
And then there's the distillery Yellow Rose, which they make
good whiskey.
they make decent whiskey. They just can't keep their promises. If you book them on a show, they don't show up, and they don't call you to tell you that they're not going to be there
No
and leave
doubt.
you hanging. And then you book them again, and they do the same thing the second time. So this is my love-hate relationship with Yellow Rose. But as far as the cigar goes, absolutely fantastic.
Top notch.
Have you paired them?
I have not, no, because I don't have any of their whiskeys in my house.
Gotcha.
It's a thing. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting on location in Old Town Spring, Texas at El Cuerpo Roto. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are on location, my friends, at El Cuerpo Roto. And I'm going to ask you what that means in just a minute.
You said it right.
Because as far as Ian and I can tell, it is Spanish for the Cuerpo Roto.
Yes.
And
That's
so
a direct translation.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll get to maybe a more in-depth translation in just a moment.
The
But
more
first
in-depth
of all,
analysis of it.
But first of all, those of you who are regular listeners and viewers of this program know that we save the most popular segment for much later in the show, and we will get to it, but I want to give you our teaser headline for today's Drinking News story. Drinking News is where we bring you a story that is often, but not always, about drinking, but it is always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And our Drinking News teaser headline for today's story is... I'm sorry, what exploded? So that'll be coming up. Plus, there's all kinds of year-end lists. We did the Cigar Aficionado list of their top cigars of 2023. Blind Man's Puff, which is a website I really enjoy looking at every once in a while. They have put out their list of the top cigars of 2023. So we'll get to that. And Cigar
Isn't that
Aficionado.
also a cigar by...
Is there a Blind Man's Puff cigar?
Yes, by I'll think of it in a minute.
Okay, I'm not. I don't think I'm familiar with it, so I'll definitely have to check that out. Plus, this for our good friend Chris Hart. You're pouring beer all wrong.
Caldwell, I think, makes it.
We'll get to that.
You're pouring beer all wrong.
Yeah. So we'll get to that as we get through the program a little bit. But Lizzie May is the proprietor and owner of El Cuerpo Roto, and she is also a very talented artist in of her own skills.
Thank you.
Lizzie, did you open this as a way to showcase your art? Did you open it as a way to bring together art and cigars? What was the inspiration behind El Cuerpo Roto?
Originally, it was adult daycare. No, not really.
I thought you were going to say originally it was an adult theater.
Yeah, one of those video shops. No. Originally, I always wanted to open up an art gallery, and this just happened to be a great spot for it. But I realized that I truly have a love for smoking cigars.
Mm-hmm.
So I think cigars in itself is an art. All of the various
100%.
different ones and how they're made.
Oh, the
and
rolling and the blending,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. So it only made sense to pair the lifestyle of art and the upper echelon quality of cigars together, just because each one balances itself. I mean, you sit there and you look at a picture and you're kind of mesmerized, like what's happening, like kind of like what y'all are doing with these Panthers.
The Panthers are great.
What
We'll
are
have
they
to take a
thinking?
picture of that.
When you're smoking a cigar, you really kind of time stand still and you're
For
really
sure.
in your thoughts.
For
So
sure.
I figured it kind of married really, really well. So why not do an art gallery with a cigar lounge where you're truly sitting there thinking?
I've always said, like, when we started this show, Cruz asked me one time, like, why I enjoy smoking cigars so much. And one of the things I said is you can't hurry up and smoke a cigar.
100%.
Right.
Right. You're like, once you light that cigar, you're either going to ditch the cigar and sacrifice it, or you're going to sit there for the entire, entirety of that cigar. And that's what I love about it is once you dedicate this amount of time, and I like the bigger cigars, dedicate the time, sit down and chill, relax, and just enjoy it for a minute.
Absolutely.
For me, I stay so busy with all the things that are going on in my life. It's those moments when I sit down with a cigar and where, as you said, you can't hurry up. Those become very special moments, not to get too heavy, but for the soul. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit better than I was feeling before. And you know, cigars, of course, are not without their health concerns. But what people always fail, I think, to consider is the health advantages of really being able to slow down and clear your head.
It's a mental decompression.
It's a mental thing,
Absolutely.
100%.
I always say that whenever anybody asks me how much time do you have, and I say, well, what type of cigar do you have? You know, what type of cigar? I measure my
Exactly.
time by the type of cigar.
100%.
So,
I love that.
yeah, 45
I love
minutes
that.
to an hour 15.
Yeah. Well, I've got Robusto time.
Right.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we will be right back. We're enjoying this place very much, and we will definitely get, for those of you watching the video, there'll definitely be some shots of some of this artwork that's on the walls here if you're watching the video of the show. But we'll be right back with our next segment. You are watching and listening to Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back, my friends. It's Smoking and Toasting on location for show number 363. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we're on location, as I mentioned, in Old Town Spring, Texas, Old Town being a section of the town spring. We are at El Cuerpo Roto, which is a combination art gallery, cigar lounge, and place to come and feel cultured. Because I do feel
Absolutely.
very
Yeah, this
cultured.
place is
Absolutely.
cool.
I do feel very cultured. Lizzie May is the artist and owner of El Cuerpo Roto. Tell us about the name. What does it actually mean?
Absolutely. The name is Spanish for, and by the way, you pronounced it fantastic. So
Oh, thank
great
you.
job. The name is Spanish for the broken body. And the
My name is Cruz, after all.
Cruz, yes. Makes sense. Yes, so it's the broken body, which was named after an accident that I had where I broke both of my legs.
Oof, that's tough.
So-
That is wow. Talk about slowing you down.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, everything changes, right?
Right. Well, absolutely. You're at the very bottom, rock bottom, and there's only, one way to go, and that's up. So you either lay there and bitch and moan and complain about that, or, you do something about it. And I decided to start painting. And my husband brought me some painting stuff and said, here, just snap out of it, and started painting. And this kind of what transpired from
And
that.
you had painted before, right?
So no, I used to draw,
Oh.
and I've been drawing since I was about 6 years old, but never really did I start.
So your
painting,
husband
so
saw that this was what you needed.
he did, and originally this, if you're familiar with Frida Kahlo, she was a really famous painter, and she had a similar accident, but she was paralyzed from the waist down, so she was also too bedridden. And so that's where she started painting. So I started painting about 3 years ago, and this is what's transpired in the last 3 years.
Now you were telling me a story. This one right above my head here is one of the first ones.
That is. So this one was the
That is
one.
so
I
intense.
love this piece. When
Yeah.
when me and my wife happened into your shop last month, I absolutely fell in love with this piece. And you have this also printed on a shirt, so I definitely bought one of the shirts. But
Yes.
I love this piece.
Yep. So that one was the culmination of my legs healing, and by the time I began to walk, is when I finished her. So
Wow.
it was kind of this married thing with liberating, being able to walk, feeling liberation of finally being able to use the restroom by myself and walking to it, and then her, being liberated, so old enough where she was just like, "Fuck you, I don't care anymore. I'm gonna smoke what I want, do what I want, say what I want, when I want." That's how I felt, and that's why I did that one.
It's just a wonderful piece because there's so much to me, and I am not in any way knowledgeable to speak about art. I remind myself of that Peanuts comic strip where Linus is at his desk in school and he keeps raising his hand saying, "I appreciate it, I appreciate it," and then he looks, at the camera and says, "It's art appreciation class." That's about how much art knowledge I have.
Do you have those pictures in your house where when you stop focusing, it makes a picture?
Yes. No, I don't actually. I really don't. But what I would say about art, just in my limited understanding of it, is the same thing that I would say about music. That what's special to me, when artwork is special to me, is when it makes me feel something, and that image, that painting,
Those
absolutely
eyes.
makes me feel something. There's a determination and a sort of a steely quality to her that comes right through, and that's
Yeah.
what I mean. I couldn't even paint a face that looked like a face. You painted one where it's got this emotion that comes all the way
It's
through.
amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
I was mentioning to you before the show started, there's one downstairs where you have several prominent music figures, and I was just looking at Tupac, and it's like he was looking right through me.
That's pretty amazing.
Th-
yeah.
it's unbelievable, and so to me, that's a talent. I can't believe that it was only a few years ago
Well, I appreciate that.
that
So,
you
thank
discovered that you have that.
Yeah.
And by the way, in those 3 years, you've managed to paint a number of amazing things and open a gallery to display them,
That's-
along
yeah.
with some other artists' work
Yeah,
too. So
that was one of the biggest things I think I wanted to do was really marry the two, and that's why I did the cigars in the artwork. As you can see with the paintings behind me, a lot of it is meditative. A lot of it is capturing that moment where you're wondering, what are they thinking? Well, when you're smoking a cigar, that's all you do is think. You have time
Agreed.
to think, you
Yeah.
have time to meditate. And I wanted to capture those intimate moments in each of these individuals that I painted, because I have no idea what I'm thinking, or what other people are thinking. People don't know what I'm thinking, but it's my own private moment in vain, whether I'm choosing this cigar or another cigar, whatever it is, it's my time.
One of the things I like about a lot of other cigar lounges I've been to is the camaraderie you have with the other people that are sitting there. Here, I almost just want to be here by myself, or with another silent smoker,
You
and
also
take some of
mentioned
this in.
that sometimes you have people come up and do like meetings and things like that here. This is such a beautiful setting for that, like a small intimate meeting,
Right.
even if it's a business meeting or something, you're really,
I think you almost forget you're in Old Town Spring when you're in
Right.
here.
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
How long have you been open here?
So we've been open since October 13th, so 2 months as of a couple days ago.
So
You came in very early.
we came in right after you opened. I didn't even realize that.
Right.
Wow.
So I assumed you'd been open for a year or so or more. Wow,
cool.
this is brand spanking new. This is so cool.
Thank you. Thank
Really,
you.
it really,
I
really
appreciate
is.
that.
And I
Yeah.
can only imagine how much more art and how many other artists you're going to wind up having on display here.
Currently,
as
we
you,
have
as
4.
you grow. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
Lizzie, one of the things we like to do here on the program is sample stuff. And we've been really enjoying sampling these cigars from your humidor. So thank you for that. I'm loving this. And so while Ian passes around, well, he's actually already done it. He's passed around the beer that we're going to sample. But before we do that, tell me about what cigar you're smoking, because this is not one I'm super familiar with.
Absolutely. So this is a Tabernacle Lancero. Lanceros are my favorite of all time cigars. And if you're not familiar with Lanceros are 7 inches and 38 gauge. They are a tightly packed, cigar. So you're going to get a lot more of a concentrated smoke.
Right, the
than you
flavor's
would.
more concentrated.
A lot more of the
Absolutely.
wrapper, a
Yeah.
lot more of the wrapper.
The ratio of wrapper to filler
Mm-hmm.
and binder is much higher on this cigar, even though it's not that big around, but that means there's not that much
Air coming through.
and
Yep,
it's not
absolutely.
as much tobacco as in a larger ring gauge.
Absolutely. And this one is Maduro, and it's got a little bit more of a peppery taste to it, but it smokes really well with either a cup of coffee or a scotch, which,
We will get
love-
to
we
that.
will get to.
Both
Yeah.
of those things, actually.
Yes, but it's a fantastic smoke. It's about, I would say, this is one you have to babysit, but it should last you about 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah. You mentioned coffee, and Ian earlier was talking about when we went to Honduras, and we were at the Aladino farm, and not only did they have amazing cigars, because Ian's smoking an Aladino now, but they also had, I'm not a big coffee person, but their coffee was incredible.
So I'm not an everyday coffee person, but I do appreciate good coffee. And their coffee I had every day we were there. It was really, really outrageous.
Well, you talk about going well with a cigar.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm curious as to how a New Zealand Pilsner is going to go with these cigars.
So this is what we brew in the shadows. If you're familiar with
Stormbreaker Brewing is a very
don't know which can
creative.
to go with,
we've
but,
had we've had some of their beers on before, and they always do something very creative with the titles and the artwork on the
if you're
cans.
familiar with what we do in the shadows, this is like the daily life of a group of vampires that all live together in a communal kind of home. And it's interesting because it's really funny, by the way. Watch the movie. New Zealand style Pilsner, a lager with some bite, hot bite that is.
But
Nelson Sauvin, Southern Cross, and and Y80 hops shine through this tropical citrus and stone fruit expression. Premium German malts provide a smooth foundation for easygoing drinkability. They use smooth. They use smooth in there.
Well, I've done a little research while you were reading, and I can tell you that I really, really like this. It's got the mouthfeel and the finish that you expect from a Pilsner, that sort of crispness. It's not as hop forward, but it has just enough to give you some of that IPA type taste, but without any of the IPA hop finish. The finish is more Pilsner.
The aftertaste, there's so after you sit with the aftertaste for a minute and then do a little bit of a retrohale, there's almost a fruity pebble like
Yes. Which ordinarily
sweetness that comes out. Super
ordinarily you would
interesting.
only get that from like a very hazy IPA. I think of the Fruity Pellets IPA from
Greater Heights.
Greater Heights, yeah.
Nice
It's
summer one, too.
it's really it's
Refreshing.
really good overall.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. And 2023 was basically the year of lagers and pilsners at at a lot of
Oh,
craft
yeah.
breweries, because that was when IPAs had been all the rage for a few years. Then everybody started, all the brewers started, trying to make a really big stout or a barley wine or something on that end of the scale.
Right.
And last year was the year that a whole bunch of them really seemed to focus on, you know what, let's put out a great lager, a great Pilsner, and do something that's on that side. And any brewmaster will tell you that lagers are much more difficult to brew
and
than ales are.
One of the first lagers that came out from one of the microbrews that I know of was Sympathy for the Lager from Karbach. When
This
they
is
first
in the
came
good
out,
old days
this
when they
was
were
a
independent.
100% go-to for me, man. I drank much of that beer. And then when AB InBev bought them out, I'm assuming they said, you know what, we already have a lager, so that's going away. Psh,
We have a
gone.
lager, and it's not nearly as good as this one.
Yeah,
So
we're gonna
let's
fix this.
stop making ourselves look bad.
I'm not sure that's the entire story, but that, whatever it was, or maybe it was expensive to make, or whatever it was, it went away. But it put lagers, I think, on the map, like here and on my map again, to go, okay, I'll try some of these lighter styles from the company. So
yeah.
love it, and I love that it became a thing. One thing I do miss, though, is when people were making a lot more barley wines. Talking to you, Flying Dog, I remember your Horn Dog barley wine, which was fantastic.
Barley
so many
wines-
years ago.
Barley wines are much more difficult to make. They require much more aging, and as such, they have
They
a
don't
tendency.
always require as much aging, but they are ingredient intensive.
Yes, and they have a tendency to be more expensive, and I think that's why maybe there aren't more of them out there, is because there's only so
they
big
may
of a
be-
market for.
They may be much more expensive to make, but at least they're less popular to sell.
Well,
I
you're-
get it. Like, I'm one of those few, but I do love.
But
barley
you're in
wines.
luck, because we're doing a barley wine from Casita Brewing Company today called, and I love this name, Once More with Feeling.
That's pretty awesome, right?
It is a double barrel aged barley wine, so we'll see what that means.
That's
once
got to
we-
be boozy, baby.
Yeah, once we open that bottle. Hey, yeah, that's why we save that till
Till
the
last.
the final segment of the show, just in case, But yeah, we'll get to that. We'll also get to an IPA that is a Foggy triple IPA from Humble Sea Brewing Company called Electric Coral. So we have that to look forward to. Some cigars to watch for. The limited edition CAO Amazon Basin is back. You remember, Ian, the Amazon
Oh, yeah,
Basin?
I remember the-
It's the one that has that little, looks like a cord wrapped around it instead of a band.
Yes, and it was absolutely fantastic.
It began shipping to retailers last week for the first time since 2022.
Yeah.
The Amazon Basin is defined by its Braganca tobacco as a part of the filler blend. It's grown in the Amazon rainforest of Brazil, and the seedlings are planted a yard apart from one another, which makes obviously a smaller yield than a typical
Right.
tobacco. But after harvesting, the leaves are rolled by hand into dense logs called carottes, which undergo a 6-month fermentation. The carottes of tobacco are then loaded onto a canoe and paddled out of the jungle down the Amazon River. So, as you can imagine, these are not going to be super cheap.
No, but if this is all true about the last ones, they were fantastic.
It's they are
unique.
they are put together at the STG Esteli factory in Nicaragua, where CAO cigars are produced.
yeah.
So the rest of the cigar is a high priming Ecuador Sumatra wrapper, a Nicaraguan binder, and filler from Colombia and the Dominican Republic.
CAO suffered a few years back a bit of construction issues and things like that, but I think they've bounced back because
Well,
there's been a number of CAOs recently.
And this is one of the things you really have to give this to the big cigar companies. You have to give them some props here, because like in any industry, when a smaller upstart company will start to gain some traction, one of the things that can happen, like we were talking about with Karbach earlier, being bought by Anheuser-Busch, one of the things that can happen is the big guys might say, let's add that to our portfolio. And that's what happened with CAO. They were a much more independent outfit, and they made great cigars, the Osdener family, Kano and Tim, and they eventually got bought. And when they did, the quality suffered.
It's the trust. Yeah,
CAOs,
handing
when I
over.
first started smoking cigars, CAOs were a go-to for me. I loved the
But
CAOs.
what has happened in the subsequent years is they are building that quality back. And
Yeah.
that's what you see more in the cigar industry than in the beverage industry, unfortunately. When they start, when Anheuser-Busch told Karbach not to use so many grapefruits in their grapefruit IPA, it had a negative effect on the quality of the beer. And I don't think they even make that bright and shiny
No, I don't think so
anymore. And so I'm glad to see the big cigar companies seem to be learning their lesson and reinvesting in the brands that they bought and devalued. Same thing happened to Camacho.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, all right,
Exactly.
we got to take a break here, and we will return. Still lots more to come. I have a few more cigars to watch for to tell you about it. And Cigar Aficionado has released a new list of the 15 strong cigars that you should be smoking.
Strong like bull.
We'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting, where the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Speaking of craft beer, Ian's going to pour us another one right now. While he does, I will tell you that I'm very excited that I can now, with a clear conscience, purchase the Timeless line of cigars.
And they're good.
Timeless was owned by Nat Sherman, and I stopped buying any Nat Sherman products back when they came out in support of the restrictive cigar legislation that had been proposed. And I just thought, anybody that supports that, I can't support them. Fortunately, Fierro Tego bought the Timeless Prestige
Yes, they
line
did.
from Nat Sherman. And Nat Sherman was getting out of the cigar business anyway. And Timeless was a really good cigar.
Right.
And now they have come out with 2 new shorter sizes that are intended for winter weather, when you're going to be ducking outside to smoke, and maybe you don't want to be out in the elements long enough to smoke the kind that Ian smokes floating down the river.
There's nothing wrong with a 70 ring gauge.
These 2 new Vitolas are already at retailers now. Neither cigar is long. The Divinos is a Perfecto measuring 5 by 50, and the number 4 is a Petite Corona that's 4.5 by 40. So that sounds pretty exciting and
That's
fun.
that's a 30 to 40 minute smoke right there. That's
Yep.
nice, yeah.
And they're made in the Dominican Republic
in
by the Casita family. And I love Casita cigars.
man.
They
Casita
really know what
rocks
they're
it.
doing. The Prestige is made using a Honduran-grown wrapper, the Dominican binder, and fillers from the DR and from Nicaragua. And just this last summer, by the way, Fierro Tego added a Lancero size called the Especiales to the brand. And so that might be
That'll be
one
one
you
I'm
would
definitely
be
going to
interested
try.
in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the number 4 and the Divinos bring the Prestige line to 8 sizes. And honestly, they do a nice job with those. Those are good
Yes.
cigars. All right, Ian, you have poured us our IPA for the show today. We don't always have an
Salud.
IPA, but we often do. This is a pretty interesting looking one called Electric
wow.
Coral. And now
From,
we get to experience a foggy.
Humble Sea Brewing.
That is fantastic.
That is
Really
wow.
taste the fog.
Wow.
That
Yeah.
does a lot on the palate.
Embrace the fog. I like the fog.
Foggy triple India Pale Ale with citrus.
Definitely taste the citrus in that.
Yeah.
No, man, my glasses don't go that small. And something.
I love. They're from Santa Cruz, California, which I love Santa Cruz.
Citrus and Ruwaka.
I think it's a type of hop. It's probably Citra
Ruwaka.
and
Okay,
Ruwaka
gotcha.
hops.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Tastes grapefruitish.
Jeez, it's
Right?
coming in at
Grapefruit? Yeah.
10%, 10.1.
Wow, it's big, but it doesn't really taste that big. You know,
No,
usually,
this
Very
is-
smooth.
usually if you get an IPA, especially
This
that's
is-
above about 8%, you can feel it.
Yeah.
This
and-
is a
and this-
blast of flavor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It
this is
is.
just
It
all
is.
flavor. What a good.
It
You know what it
is.
has? I'm going to say something funny after you take a sip and live with the aftertaste for just a second. I'm going to say there's a little bit of that leftover aftertaste like you get when you're crunching on a sweet tart.
Oh, I love that.
yeah.
I love sweet tart.
A little bit of that powdery kind of tart thing
Yeah.
that just lingers, and it's got a sweet
Now,
thing going on.
I
I'm not
love
being
sweet tarts. In
very,
fact,
It's a sweet bitter kind of balance.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know. I
really
like
interesting.
it.
This
I keep
They
this is
balance each
outrageously
other
good.
real well.
And look at that. When they say foggy, they are no joke.
not kidding.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no seeing through that.
I feel like I'm drinking a mixed drink. but not.
And by the way,
It's got a huge mouthfeel to
It
it, as
does.
well.
Yeah.
It's such a big,
well,
almost
it's
like
10 and a half. So.
Well, yeah. So not only that, but it's like Ingenious makes those. What do they call them? The milkshake style.
yeah.
oh, yeah.
IPAs and
This has
sours.
that big,
It's a
crazy,
full body taste.
yeah, full mouthfeel.
I don't
to
think
it.
there's any lactose though in this. That would almost ruin it. I think. I think
No,
they're
this
better
is
off without it.
outrageously good though.
Well,
I
I-
would, drink,
and
I
I-
would drink this floating down the river, no problem.
And I will
Yeah.
say this: we can add this to our short but growing list of IPAs that do not fight with cigars. And because as somebody who loves that style of beer, loves IPAs, I am often relegated to drinking an IPA when I'm not smoking a cigar,
Right.
Because
brings-
of the damage it does to the palate in combination.
It
with
brings
the cigar.
out, like, after I took a puff on the cigar, this Aladinos are so classic. Like, this is about, like, when you think of a cigar from Honduras, this is pretty much the flavor profile I'm thinking of. And it brings out so much of the nuttiness and a little bit of campfire and that earth in this cigar. It tamps down a little bit of the sweetness that the cigar naturally has, but it really brings out some of those other beautiful flavors that you don't always get.
I agree. I was going to say the same thing with mine. With the pepper
Yeah.
in the Lancetto, you have the sweet, and it really balances out well and enhances both flavors.
The beer, just in case you want to look for this, if you're in California, you can find this, I think, probably fairly readily. If you're visiting California, stop in Santa Cruz, because it's a great place to stop. Spend the night there. There's great Airbnbs and bed and breakfasts and all kind of stuff there. Great ocean views. But Humble Sea Brewing Company is based in Santa Cruz, and the next time I go, that's where I'm going to spend at least one afternoon.
You need to send a couple cases of this back.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
outrageous.
Absolutely good. Electric Coral. It's the Foggy Triple IPA. Still to come on the program. We'll taste the One More with Feeling double barrel-aged barley wine. So we went with some big ones this week.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. And we're also going to be tasting a little Scotch whiskey when we return. It's Smoking and Toasting.
I'm feeling this one.
Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. Those of you who are with one of our radio affiliates that takes both hours of the show, we do have one or two, I think, that only take the first hour. So if you are in one of those markets, I hope you have found us on YouTube and are enjoying the rest of the show. We do want to say a big hello to New Orleans, which is the latest market we've picked up for the show. What's up, Nolans? We are planning to come and do a show in your city
Who dat?
this
Oh,
year,
yeah.
2024.
Yeah. Also, I'd like
That's happening.
just a
Yes.
friendly hello. We haven't forgot about you, Josh and Bruce. Miss you guys.
We do. Back when we were not doing pre-recording the show, when we used to do it live on Facebook, and the reason we changed is because we have to pre-record for the purpose of radio.
Right.
But because we don't know when they're going to air the show, so it has to be ready in advance. But back when we were live and doing the show live on Facebook, we always looked forward to Josh and Bruce and others in the comments. Liliana, our tequila expert, who is always in the comments.
We had a great comment
Yeah,
section
yeah,
going
It was
on.
a lot of fun. So today we are on location at El Cuerpo Roto, and the proprietor of this fine establishment, Lizzie May, is here with us, our special guest, and we are pretty darned excited about being here. Ian was telling me about this place, but he really couldn't quite describe it as well as we wanted. I think somebody's phone's going off. That's, yeah. I used to work with this guy that when his wife would call, it would play Marvin Gaye. I've been feeling. And we were like, oh, dude, don't. Just don't.
That's better than I remember with my ex-wife had. I used to have that booty, 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 booty rocking everywhere.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I
you knew
got
what
you.
time it was, right?
So I had it set for a while when my wife would call. It was the Godfather theme.
There you go. That's pretty dramatic right there. That is pretty dramatic. Ian is pouring us a whiskey that came from your collection here.
Yes, it
Tell
is.
us about this whiskey.
So this whiskey is Spey River, and it's one of my favorites. I normally drink Macallan Sherry Cask, and that one
love
is
that.
one of the 12-year, which is fantastic. But I think one day I just kind of wanted to try it because they might have been out, and so I asked about what's another good one, and they recommended this one. This one's about, I believe, maybe around the $50 to $60 price point. Not as expensive as Macallan, but a fantastic taste, especially when you're pairing it with cigars.
I love finding slightly lesser known, as much as I love a Macallan or a Glenfiddich or one of the better known.
Anything that starts with Glen.
Anything that starts with Glen, right. Or a Balvenie. As much as I love those, and they're wonderful, finding a slightly lesser known distillery that is really, really good is almost as exciting as finding a new cigar that's from a really boutique cigar roller that is really wonderful. And so I've got high hopes for this because it looks wonderful.
No
Bay
pressure.
River Speyside single malt Scotch whiskey. Just so you know, single malt is telling you a couple things. It's telling you that it's made at a single distillery, and the primary mash is malt. Spey River cask finish has been matured in traditional American oak casks until it has achieved the perfect balance of flavors. Only then the whiskey is transferred into used sherry cask berries, sherry casks to allow, I don't know where I said the berries from, to allow the secondary maturation, which adds to the complex character and refined depth of flavor. So, yeah.
Refined depth of flavor, that is absolutely spot on in describing this whiskey. I think it is very...
The nose on this is warmer than I was expecting from a cask, from a sherry cask. It's got a little bit of a deeper kind of earthy kind of note to it than I was expecting. Not earthy in a peaty kind of way at all or anything.
No,
like that,
it's
but
not.
Just a little
It's
bit
not
more
at all.
earth to it.
But what I find interesting about this is that the minerality on the finish that you get with a lot of scotches is just a really super pleasant version. Not that I don't like minerality in general, but this one is just it almost like crawls across the palate and says, Doritos effect, you want another
You know
sip.
the little chocolates that
that
you get,
umami.
the dark chocolate,
Yes.
the dark chocolate with the little cherry, like little cherry cordial kind
Yep,
of chocolate.
yep.
This has a finish that's almost like that, and then it comes back with a little bit of heat
Yes.
and a little bit of earth.
Yes.
Not even almost a hint of smokiness, but a little bit of earth to it as well. That is super interesting, and there's a little vanilla sneaking around the edges of it too. This has a lot going on. Like the more I taste it, the more I talk, the more things I'm getting.
Absolutely. And you know what I get from it, and maybe to some degree this is influenced by the fact that as we record the show today, it's like 30 degrees outside, and we have some light snow falling, which for our area is a real rarity.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But-
apparently every freeway is completely shut down now.
Great.
Just
Well, we'll
about.
have fun going home.
It's going to be
It's
interesting.
just one big wreck all the way. I saw
Oh my
now.
gosh, that's awful. But what I was going to say is this: in tasting this, I get that cloudy, cold Scottish hillside vibe in a big way. I mean, it really communicates the area that this is
I
from.
love that river is in the name too, because the mineral water flavor of this is really, really outrageously nice.
I
This is
think it also enhances the cigar when you drink a little bit and then you taste it afterwards. You're almost at it, the notes in the cigar intensify, and you really can taste the different flavors within your cigar.
Now, tasting
so
this
true.
and then just telling you another one of my absolute favorite sherry cask finish. This is not to put a direct comparison, but if you like this, I think you'll also enjoy is the Glenmorangie La Santa. Have you had this expression?
I have, yes.
Yes. It's
Yes.
so
Ian,
good.
do you have any of your IPA left?
I do.
Take a sip of the whiskey, and then go back to the IPA. It just becomes a fruit bomb.
Yeah, it becomes an absolute.
Oh
like,
yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah.
And I often don't think of IPA as being something that would really go that well with a Scotch whiskey. But that's wonderful.
No,
Right.
IPAs. If you're going to have an IPA and you want a whiskey next to it, rye is where
Absolutely.
you go.
Because the spiciness of the rye
Right.
seems to
It's
work
interesting
well.
because it's not as good going the other direction.
No, I agree
Going
because
back
I
to
just
it,
did
it's
that.
not quite as good. So that means I'm going to have to finish this quick.
Go ahead. We'll wait. By the way, Terry, I've got a flashing red light here, so if my mic goes out, grab me
Okay. Yeah.
another
Got you one right here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I haven't even looked at mine.
This honestly, this is really, really wonderful.
I'm glad you liked it.
I'm so glad you shared this with us because this is better than many of the scotches that I have in my bar at home.
Yeah, this is my
None of
hidden treasure.
Yeah, none of which I dislike, by the way. But it's just it is what it is. All right, let me rip through a couple of cigars here from the list from Blind Man's Puff, which is I really enjoy the guy's website. He does great cigar reviews, and sometimes I will go after I write out what I'm, kind of getting from a cigar I'm smoking. I'll go and look and see if he has smoked it, and see if he got the same things or if he got something different, or maybe he articulated something I didn't notice, and I'll go back.
So the Blind Man's Bluff, by the way, is one from Caldwell, I think.
So is that Blind Man's Bluff
I think
or
it's Bluff?
Puff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this site is Blind Man's Puff, and he's done a listing of his favorite cigars of the year for 2023. In the first entry is one I'm just not at all familiar with. Ian, have you heard of the Lampert 1593 Edición Oscura?
I don't know anything about that.
It's one of the cigars that makes his list, and it's very, 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 very interesting. But let me
Spanish influence.
I think so. I also might not have clicked on the right thing, so let me make sure I've got this right. Okay. It's going to take a while to go through his whole list, so let me just tell you about a few of them. The Arturo Fuente Don Carlos Eye of the Bull comes in at number 25 on his list, and I have not had an Eye of the Bull
either.
I will
had
say
the Don Carlos, but I haven't had the Eye of the Bull.
In the photo, it looks pretty
impressive.
Pretty impressive, yeah. At number 24, he has the Room 101 Daruma 2023.
That's a great cigar.
The Luciano Cigars 4 in Affair, another one I'm not familiar with.
I don't know that one at all.
At 23, so make notes, my friends. Epigurio's Short Run 2023 is at number 22.
Man, can do no wrong in my eyes.
100%.
Now, here's interesting because I don't see this cigar show up on a lot of lists, this brand. Fratello's The Lunar Cameroon.
So Fratello came out with that cigar that had the red Fratello wrapper years ago, and I was not a huge fan of it. I did not like it. I just thought it's a decent cigar, but I was surprised to see that on there. I'm glad for them.
If I'm remembering things correctly, the guy that started Fratello was a former NASA engineer.
I think you're right, yeah.
And so he started the tobacco. And we see, living here in Houston, we see a lot of breweries that do NASA and space themed.
Well, True
brews.
Anomaly is all about the NASA thing because it's all NASA guys.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. West Tobacco Company's Red came in at number 20. I'll just zip through these real quick. Avo's Seasons Limited Edition 2023, the spring.
Oh, yeah. I reviewed that a while back.
They did one for each season in 2023. The Aganorsa Leaf Anniversario Connecticut came in at number 18. Have you had that Connecticut?
Yes,
I haven't had the Connecticut.
So good.
Crowned Heads La Vereda. La Vereda is number 17.
I've not had that one yet.
Yeah, I love Crowned Heads. In fact, this is a Crowned Heads that I'm
Crowned
smoking
Heads
now.
makes great cigars.
And it is wonderful. The HVC, which I always think sounds like a plastic pipe, but I'm getting it wrong.
That's PVC.
Hey, thank you. HVC Selection number 1 Natural is our Natural is number 16.
The HVC stuff's been great. The hot cake.
The Espinosa Las Six Provincias ZDT. I have not had this.
I haven't had that.
Comes in at number 15 on the list. At number 14, another one I'm completely unfamiliar with, but just from the name I want to smoke it. It's the Emilio Audiophile 2023.
I don't know anything about that.
Comes in at number 14. 13 is the Room 101 Johnny Tobacconut. I
haven't tried that yet.
Not had the Johnny
I love
Tobacconut.
the name, though. If I saw it, I'd buy it.
Exactly. Davidoff's Millennium Lancero
that's
limited
a fantastic
edition
one. That's actually
collection
really good.
I don't think I've had that one.
comes in
good.
at number 12.
I mean, it's Davidoff.
Lancero.
It's going to be
So I tried
expensive,
it.
though.
It
the
is.
Latier Roxy Natural comes in at number 11.
Yeah.
Have you had that one? Yeah, I haven't either.
I've had some of the Latier, but not that one.
The Espinosa Knuckle Sandwich Connecticut. I have had this. It is a wonderful cigar. It's at number 10 on the list as we break into the top 10. J.C. Newman's Angel Cuesta.
Had that one.
Haven't
Yeah?
had that.
Yes,
Like it?
that was a good one. Yes.
Love it. See, this is good. I really appreciate having you on because you've had some of these we haven't had. I love it. The Tatuaje 20th Anniversary makes number 8 on the list. I haven't had that, but I've never smoked a Tatuaje cigar that was not excellent.
That's why it's amazing.
Yeah. The Punch Spring Roll.
Yes.
You had the spring roll?
The spring roll.
I'm not
Yeah.
a fan of that one.
All right, so the spring roll I've been having over and over again. It's $6 a cigar. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I've smoked those since they came out with them. I've smoked probably 30 or 40 of them. They're fantastic.
Maybe I just didn't have a good one.
They're so good.
Yeah.
Number 6 on the list, the Joya de Nicaragua, Cinco de Cinco. I have had that. It is a very,
good.
very
Yes.
good cigar. The Roma Quaft, and I'm not even going to try this word. I'm usually fairly decent at words like quinquagenario. I have not had this. It comes in at number 5.
I don't know what that word is, but you
on the
trashed it.
list.
I think it was a Jedi in Star Wars.
I think you did right. Luciano Cigars Ipanda is number 4, and I haven't had that either. The Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust Miquiera Black Papasaka is number 3. So very interesting because he reviews a lot of these lesser-known cigars, and they wind up on his list.
Right.
Tatuajes Lomo de Cuerdo
Haven't tried that one
or
either.
Cerdo at number 2. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Lomo
And
de
his
Cerdo.
number 1, I love this, Fierro Tego's Suma.
Oh,
So Fierro Tego, which we talked about earlier in
Right.
the show, comes in at number 1. So you can find this list at blindmanspuff.com. Check it out, and we'll be back to check out more stuff, including breaking news on Smoking and Toast. And welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, our program all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
I love those
We
things.
are on location today at El Cuerpo Roto, and I love that. I have one of those, and I have not used it nearly as often as I should.
You don't burn your
because
fingers.
especially with the Lancero, that really works to make sure you don't
Yeah,
burn your fingers
man.
and
Yeah.
get to enjoy the cigar all
the way down.
All the way
Yeah.
It's like something
Yeah.
Tommy Chong made.
Yes. It's just
Dude,
super smart, super simple.
it essentially is a roach clip for cigars. That's essentially what it is.
Yes.
Yeah, but I love it. I love it. All right, we'd like to dedicate this next segment to our smoking and toasting whiskey expert, Christopher Hart. Chris Hart, as you know, has been on the show many times. If you've seen the show where tons of F-bombs were dropped, that was him.
Yeah, well,
But he's the nicest guy. He does the Whiskey Social, which
Oh, I love that.
is, we've said this before many times. This is the best whiskey tasting event we've ever been to, and we've been to a number of them.
That was my first one, and it was amazing.
So-
It was amazing.
Chris came on the show one of his times and announced to us that we were pouring beer wrong, that we need to do the hard pour because that apparently released more flavor in the beer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where you get a lot more head at the top. And so he's a fan of the hard pour. And every time we talk about the hard pour, we bring Chris up. Well, now, even though there's nothing quite like an ice-cold glass of beer to quench the thirst, it can cause all sorts of problems for those who already struggle with digestive issues. And according to Master
see that.
Cicerone Max Baker, much of the bloating caused by beer comes from the way it's poured. Max Baker says, as does Christopher Hart, you're pouring your beer all wrong. We may think that tilting the glass and pouring slowly creates the perfect headless pint, but what that actually means is that the CO2 in the beer has nowhere to escape to. And as a result, all that gas goes straight into your tummy.
Yeah.
And a salty beer snack added into the mix, and the bloating only gets worse as soon that grub gets into your stomach and disturbs the liquid, and it starts releasing the CO2, and pretty soon you're going to be releasing something as well because it's going to make you feel even more uncomfortable.
but from which end?
We're not talking about a tiny amount of glass.
Both.
Yeah. When you tilt
Top
the
and
glass. Yeah, I had that disgusting friend who in high school who used to do the really super loud burps, and you could be like, dude, and then he'd be like, aren't you glad that didn't come out the other end? And we'd have to say, yeah, we kind of are. But we're not talking about a tiny amount of gas. When you tilt the glass, the CO2 that's 2.5 times the volume of the beer you've drunk can be released into your belly.
That's
So,
interesting.
according to Master Cicerone Max Baker, go ahead and do that hard pour. Let it come out. Let the and if you think about it, when you talk about pouring like a perfect pint of Guinness,
I was going to say Guinness already has that carbon activated
That's
thing
a
in
hard
there.
pour.
they've
But
got
you're
that
aerating
figured
it
out.
too.
Yeah.
You're
It's
aerating like
actually
you do with
nitro,
wine.
not carbon.
Nitro,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've been pouring your beer all wrong, and I will admit I do, I pour it slowly.
Yeah?
Down the side of the glass. That's apparently not the way to do it.
I was a little amazed. Remember we had the Guinness rep on, and he was like, "Oh, do you know how to pour a Guinness?" And when I showed him how I pour a Guinness, he had no idea. He was like,
I've never seen that before.
but it makes the perfect pour. It was a hard pour, like literally upside down in the glass. Do not try that with any other beer.
I have huge respect though for the bartenders who can do it properly from the tap.
Yes.
Now, I will admit one of the reasons I don't often employ the hard pour is I'm just too impatient. Because when you do the hard pour, then you have to wait or drink through the foam for a while in order to get to that.
In his defense, when Chris Hart came on the show, he did the hard pour versus a not hard pour. And even though I was adamantly saying, oh, no, you're doing that wrong, there was really, you couldn't tell the difference.
No.
Like you couldn't really tell the difference flavor-wise or anything like that. So, all that being said, the hard pour, if you need to relieve the CO2 a little bit, yeah.
If you're going to be hanging out with me, please hard pour. We got to take a break. We'll be back with drinking news, the hard pour edition, coming up next on Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. You have got Smoking and Toasting dialed up and happening for show number 363 on location at El Cuerpo Roto in Old Town Spring. It took us about half an hour to drive up here from downtown Houston.
And we're going to spend the night.
And it will take us most of the day to get back home. So, because that's just because it's like icy and crazy on the road.
Crazy out there.
And
it is.
I can tell you, as someone who's lived in Massachusetts and Pennsylvania and Washington, D.C., no one here in Texas knows how to drive in these.
No,
Absolutely
not at all.
not.
As a matter of fact, if anyone out there is familiar with Google and Google Maps and how they do the roads, it is a solid red line back to Houston.
The darkest red.
Except
blood red.
It's not black. It's dark red, except for a couple slightly orange patches.
I will look forward to those orange patches.
We're going to get to know each other on the way home.
Absolutely. Well, welcome back to the show. It's time now for the part of the program we call. I just want to mention before we get into drinking news, this cigar is so wonderful. This is the Crowned Heads Yellow Rose, redeeming the name Yellow Rose in just as spectacular a fashion as our friends at Lone Pint Brewery have done with their spectacular IPA.
Now,
this is wonderful.
I'm glad we had one for you.
I lit my second cigar, and this is a New World Dorado.
And see, that's one of my favorite cigars. In fact, that was my favorite cigar when we did our list.
Yeah.
That was my favorite of
This
2023.
is a fantastic cigar.
Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. All right, well, Drinking News is a segment on the program where we bring you a story from the news. It's been reported somewhere at least legit. It's not a parody story from The Onion. This is something that reportedly actually happened somewhere, generally in the United States, although occasionally from another country.
Most often from Florida.
Often from Florida.
There's a real police report somewhere for this.
That's right. And we have stories on Drinking News that are quite often about drinking, but not always. But they are always best enjoyed if you've been drinking, which we have. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Well, it's not easy. Wait, you're going to need that.
Noted.
It's not easy being a Florida man.
Florida man.
It's not easy being a Florida man. I mean, look, you got to worry about swamps, about gators, about a Florida woman assaulting you with a sausage.
Florida woman.
A sausage from the rotary grill at the 7-Eleven.
There's that, yeah.
Oh.
Or to combine the horrors of both of those last two things, about a Florida woman hiding a baby gator in her yoga pants. All stories we have brought you here
That's true.
on Drinking News.
True.
But it gets even worse.
Wait for it.
Just ask Paul Kerouac, a Florida man.
Sing along now.
Ian's laughing too hard to sing Florida Man. Paul Kerouac, a Florida man who has filed a lawsuit for negligence against, of all things, Dunkin' Donuts. What, did they surprise him with a donut that actually tastes good? I mean, sidebar here. I had to give up donuts a long time ago because apparently I gain 15 pounds per donut I eat, and my blood sugar spikes like Rob Gronkowski scoring a touchdown. But back before what I now refer to as the great sadness, I used to love a good donut, and I will tell you, my friends, you cannot buy one at Dunkin'.
No, you can't.
Yes, Dunkin' makes great coffee.
Man, Voodoo Donut makes a good donut.
Even their breakfast sandwiches are not bad. But comparing something like a Krispy Kreme hot glazed to a Dunkin' Donut is like comparing an episode of Ted Lasso to an episode of Two Broke Girls. Yeah, they might both.
I love Two Broke Girls.
They
Come
might
on now.
both technically be a donut or a TV show, but only one of them doesn't suck. But that's not important right now. What is relevant to our drinking news story today is that the Florida man that I mentioned,
Florida man.
Mr. Kerouac, has in fact filed suit against a Dunkin' Donuts for being injured while patronizing one of their locations. He has filed a lawsuit in state court in Orlando, alleging that he suffered, and I'm quoting from the suit here, severe and long-term injuries, unquote, at the restaurant/store from, wait for it, an exploding toilet.
Explode. Wait, what?
That's not where I thought you were going with that.
He says he suffered severe and long-term injuries from an exploding toilet at a Dunkin' Donuts.
Is anyone here surprised that there's an exploding toilet in Florida?
Did somebody walk in first and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to blow it up in there.
Dude,
That's right.
Where did the explosion come from?
The Florida man is seeking more than $100,000 because of the apparent detonation of a duty bucket. That's what my Uncle Diener used to call them.
Crappy explosion.
Feel free to use that term if you like it. You can imagine that Kerouac feels like his head nearly exploded when the head exploded in a men's room of what the lawsuit identifies as a Dunkin' Donuts in Winter Park about a year ago. According to the court filing, the explosion left the Florida man covered in human feces, urine, and debris. And that immediately after it happened, he walked out of the men's room seeking help from workers and the store's manager. who I'm
Somebody please help me.
Like Michael Jackson. There was doo-doo,
Someone's having
feces
a
all
crappy
over the
day.
walls.
That's a crappy day.
A Dunkin' employee allegedly then told them that they were aware of the, quote, problem with the toilet, end quote,
We knew it.
since there had been previous incidents.
You
We knew it.
forgot to read the warning sign.
We knew it happened. We just thought it was funny.
Danger, toilet may explode. Now look, I am no expert in fast food management, but I figure that if you can't tear yourself away from putting half-stale pastries under the hot lamp to keep them warm, to maybe replace a toilet in the men's room that has shown a tendency to create a violent discharge of its own, it is possible that you have your priorities a little out of whack.
3-day-old pigs in a blanket.
We just enjoyed seeing people coming out of it, out of the bathroom like that.
The lawsuit presents the claim of the water closet debacle, but does not dive into further details about the explosion itself. It says that Kerouac suffered bodily injury and that he is required mental health care and counseling since the incident in January of 2022.
Sure, that wasn't booty injury.
Is there a count?
No one said
quantity?
anything where he was in the bathroom when this happened. So the question is, right? Like, did it
Sitting on the
explode?
toilet?
Was it spontaneous expulsion, or was it like after he flushed? Which at that point in
Again.
time, if you think about the position you're in when you're flushing a toilet,
This is going bad.
that's
Yeah,
painful.
that's not good.
That's not
Yeah.
Not good.
that's not good.
And I can imagine that a great deal of counseling could very much be necessary after a toilet explodes.
But if you were sitting on the toilet and you reached back to do the courtesy flush, then you got the wazoo enlightenment, so to speak.
Yes. Now, on the other hand, there are reports that Hollywood studios are already battling over rights to the Florida Man's story, and with a few editorial changes, maybe racing each other to see who can be the first to debut a major motion picture featuring this unique plot twist from the water closet. In a Drinking News exclusive, we have managed to acquire a list of films that may or may not be in production and could or could not be coming to a theater near you.
Is it bad that all I can hear is Movie Man going, "In a world where toilets explode"?
And so, without further ado, further ado,
Or further doo-doo.
Doo-doo.
and certainly without any modicum of good taste, we proudly bring you the top 5 list of future movies to feature the detonation of an elimination chamber. Here we go. The top 5 movies to feature exploding toilets that could be coming to a theater near you. Number 5. I got confused because number 5 is John Wick 7. The John explodes.
You killed my puppy.
Number 4, James Bond, Her Majesty's Secret Royal Flush.
Shaken and stirred.
Number 3, Game of Porcelain Thrones, The Messy Demise of Jon Snow. Number 2, Star Wars Episode 12, Attack of the Crappers. And the number 1 feature film in the future that may include an exploding toilet. Number 1, Indiana Jones and the Porcelain Fixture of Doom.
Porcelain fixture of doom.
Reporting live from the Winter Park Dunkin' Donuts, where once I witnessed the aftermath of Mr. Kerouac coming out of the men's room, I have lost all my appetite for a dozen chocolate creams. My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
See what I mean about best enjoyed if you've been drinking? Yeah.
Yes.
Certainly
It goes down
enhances.
easier. Goes down smoother. Or out
real.
smoother.
Wow.
Either way.
My wife sent me that story, and I was like, exploding toilet, we will so use this.
In a world where toilets explode every day, will yours explode next?
Yeah. Or like tonight on Eyewitness News, exploding toilets. Are your children in danger?
Nice.
Actually, is your dog in danger of drinking out of the toilet?
Yeah. Fido, stay away from there. All right, let's get to something more pleasant, shall we? Or we hope it's more pleasant. We haven't tasted it.
Oh, what do you mean we haven't tasted it?
No. So
Research has been done, sir.
This is a barley wine that we're about to partake of that comes to us from a little brewery in Wilson, North Carolina. It's called Casita Brewing Company. Their double barrel-aged barley wine is called Once More with Feeling. Ian, any information on the bottle we should know
There
about?
is double barrel barley wine aged 12 months in Pedro Jimenez cask used to finish Jim Beam bourbon barrels, and then aged 20 months in Blanton bourbon barrels.
Wow. So when they say double barrel-aged, they mean aged in 2 different
Yes.
barrels.
So it's not a double barley wine. It's
Right.
double barrel.
Although I'm guessing it's
Aged.
pretty big in and of itself.
Have you
Yes.
tried it yet?
Yes, I just did.
It's big. It's oddly
Kind
winey.
of got a sangria kind
Yeah.
of vibe to it. It's really, it's almost like a raisin fruity kind of.
I just want to pour it over
Right?
pancakes.
Yeah.
It's a little syrupy.
Yeah.
Agreed. But it has dates all day long,
It
and it like
does,
crushed
right?
dates big time. Also, it has more vanilla like flavors and kind of tannins in there that you would just not expect.
Yeah.
Kind of
It's
thinking banana Fosters for some
Oh,
reason.
it does have a
Yeah.
banana vibe to it.
Right?
Yes.
Doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Alright, yeah.
Especially that sort of like, caramelized burnt banana.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
there's a lot of that going on. This is
Yeah.
this is fun. Look at the legs on this thing. It's like sticking to the glass.
Right?
And it's a plastic cup. Right? So it's got
It's
Right.
a classic.
It does,
It's
yeah.
a classy
you wouldn't be able
plastic
to
cup.
see any of the
It
container.
is.
That's amazing. I love this. You are the barley wine
too.
fanatic, though. So tell
love
me how
this.
this ranks for you.
This is outrageously good. It's outrageously sweet. It's super sticky. It leaves like this incredibly sticky film on my lips. It's like, yeah, you just keep tasting it. The aftertaste on this, the finish sounds better than aftertaste. The finish on this has a little heat to it that you don't always expect either. Heat in a little bit of a whiskey hug kind of way. Almost like there's a spice in there.
Yeah.
I don't know what the ABV is on this. I'm sure
I
it
want to
has
keep
it-
going back
Oh,
for more.
Yeah, we're coming in at 14% on this one, buddy. Ooh-wee.
Oh, wow. Well,
Big
I will just say.
begins to describe this. It is also about as dark as you can make a beer.
Yeah. If you did a hard pour on this, like we were talking about the hard pours, and some of this spilled over your cup or glass, and
And you don't pick it up for about
flowed down
5
the side of
minutes.
it. Yeah, and you don't pick it up immediately, you're not going to be able to get this glass or
The
cup
table
off of
might
the
come
table.
with it.
This is
yeah.
how we
Yeah.
get ants.
That sounds
Like,
so
you
like
ever- you
something
ever-
my mom would
you ever
say.
actually-
This is how we get ants.
Okay, I'm going to date myself a little bit, but did you ever accidentally dump over a bottle of Caro syrup?
Oh,
It's kind of like that.
dude, yeah. The good thing, though, about if you dump over a bottle of Caro syrup is you've got several minutes to pick it up before it actually comes out of the bottle and
Yes.
onto the countertop. So, and I suspect this would
True.
be not quite that long, but would take some time itself. Well, this is really, really good.
It's a great dessert.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is
Like
pretty
great
fantastic, and it
finisher.
goes
Great
amazingly well
finisher.
with the cigar.
and
too.
one you would want to share.
I agree.
And I'm still digging this Crown Heads. Wow, this is really good. Okay, we got to take a break. We'll come back to wrap things up on location at El Cuerpo Roto in Spring, Texas. This is Smoking and Toasting, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled
I
cigars.
love those things.
Want to say thanks to our breweries and distilleries who've made some excellent stuff that we've sampled
All day today. Everything we
Dug
tried is
in the-
fantastic.
in the batch. Even the mystery beverage was pretty good.
Yeah, mystery
Agreed.
beverage is quite
Yeah.
drinkable.
Agreed.
Stormbreaker Brewing, Humble Sea Brewing Company, and Callista Brewing Company, as well as, of course, Spey River. And our biggest thanks, of course, go to Lizzie May and El Cuerpo Roto.
Claro
This
que
place
sí.
is so cool.
Not only is it a wonderful place just to do this, but you've been generous and a wonderful host for us. And give us the pertinent information, the address of your place, web address if you have one. How do people find out more about El Cuerpo Roto? And put this on their bucket list of things to do when they're in Old Town Spring.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. I really enjoyed all of the introductions to the new drinks, so thank you. You can find us at 26410 Preston Avenue in Old Town Spring. We are also located at Cuerpo, CUERPOROTO.com for anything online. And then we also have an Instagram, same thing, El Cuerpo Roto on Instagram. So
This is not only just one of the more unique cigar lounges that you'll ever find, because the focus is on the artwork instead of a sort of a leather chairs and sports bar kind of
Right.
vibe.
absolutely.
And I think it's so relaxing and so stimulating at the same time. The artwork is wonderful. The downstairs of this place, as I mentioned early on in the show, is all art gallery and a humidor. And then upstairs, nice, comfortable seating, a great environment and atmosphere, still plenty of art, and it's just beautiful and relaxing. you've really stumbled onto something here.
Thank
I
you. Yeah,
really
we
think
usually have music playing in the background, so you'll get this kind of 1950s vibe, a lot of vintage chairs, a lot of vintage ashtrays. The music tends to be a lot of Cuban, so you feel like you're almost in some South American country, Cuba. It just gives you that whole vibe, and a lot of culture is embedded in here.
And it's been so fun to do a show here. Thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
is
Thank you.
just an absolute treat. And Ian, you must have freaked out when you discovered this place.
Oh, I love it. We got in a conversation. Like, we happened in it. Me and my wife were wandering around the area, and we happened in it, and it was just, first off, taken away by the art. The art's outrageously good. All the art downstairs is,
Local artist. Yeah.
is so good. And then we got to chatting, and she said, well, there's a cigar lounge upstairs, because I saw the humidor in there. And so we came up and looked at it, and I was like, oh, we 100% have to do a show with it. I was like, can we come out and do a show here? And she looked at me and she says, well, what's in it for me?
He's not lying. He's
well,
not
we bring
lying.
good beers.
I said, we're going to have you on the show. And she's like, okay, we're good then. We're going to talk about you and your stuff.
Yeah.
She's like, we're good, okay.
I love it. It's just got such a special vibe to it, and that's what I think.
Yeah, this
you
place
can't
is great.
stress enough. That makes it different from other
Well,
cigars.
between seeing this room had, and the artwork was in a different place too. Like, it looks different than when I came up here, and that was just a month ago. And then on top of that, just after the conversation we had, and you don't hold a lot of secrets. You put it out there. You're like, this is my life. This is where I'm going. It comes through in your art.
I'm proud. I think I'm really proud of it, especially being the first Latina. Not only am I the first Latina cigar lounge owner here in the Houston area, but I'm the first Latina cigar and art gallery owner in the country.
Nice.
That's
So
amazing.
Love that.
Fantastic.
That's huge for me.
And one thing that I'll mention that I really love is very close to the front door when you come in, there's a painting that's in progress that you're working on.
Yes.
Correct.
And that is so cool. Like, to not just see the finished product, but see a little bit of what goes into making. And in this case, it's one with like 5 or 6 different faces in this.
Yeah, they're hip hop artists that
Right.
have since passed.
And it's really interesting because the ones that are finished, look amazing. And then the ones that are not quite finished yet, you get a sense of the process that goes into all this.
It's
and,
really cool.
and how it's something I could never do. I can barely draw a smiley face.
I'm always amazed at what people can do with paint. Like, if you look at any one of these are all beautiful. But when you look, like, the hands especially, I have to assume are very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
But the hands and the realism in the hands, like the shading and everything, and then around the eyes, you always capture something in the eyes of all your paintings. Like, there's a look, there's a thought behind those eyes, and it's
Absolutely.
absolutely fantastic.
And I don't know how you do it, but
It's the details.
fabulous.
I
It's
think a lot of it
captivating.
is life lives in the details, and that's what
Love
I'm
it.
known for is the details of each.
Come
Yeah.
and smoke a cigar and just soak it in. You will
Yeah,
not
this place is
regret it.
super cool.
On next week's show, the return of our old friend, Greg Doxakis returns to the show. Dox, we call him. Apparently, there's something new afoot at Dox's Rum and Cognac Company.
We have no idea what he's going to talk about.
We have no, but we do know that we'll drink something delicious.
That's true.
and we can look forward to that. And plus,
And we
I
might
will
even get a word in edgewise if
Yes.
we kick him out of the room.
And I will do my best not to refer to him as Andrew Doxakis. Have a great week, my friends. Thank you again, Lizzie,
Thank
for
you.
letting us come in, smoke, and drink here. It's been a pleasure. Until we see you guys again, we like to say cheers.
Cheers.
Salud.